While will Germany eventually shape by the government? You frequently listen how issue these days. The weekend Chancellor Angela Merkel is start a new circle of coalition negotiations, and it could be her recent opportunity to conduct a by the government. More than rather than 3 months include gone with the poll, the longest time of coalition building Germany has always named. Politically the nation appears to include fall sleeping. Yet, by the shallow, blood pressure is house, as voters get eager and the otherwise of Europe hopes how the EU's largest strong nation will get behind in the drive chair. Mrs. Merkel's center-right believer Democrats, CDU, and the center-left Public Democrats, SPEED, both have incurred their lowest domestic results for more than rather than 50 years. But say of meltdown and Mrs. Merkel's policy death, of several world print, has been bloated. Germany does include a by the government, although a keeper authority of the CDU, its Bavarian CSU friend and the SPEED. And in joblessness at a recording cheap, and tax income at a recording top, within the country things are looking nice. In the brief period, Germany can expect. But the Europe Association cannot. France CEO Emmanuel Macron has announced aspiring EU reforms, and as necessary Germany's assist to shove them via. At household, exactly since of Germany's economical successful, down there are essential length-term decisions to be done. How lot should be consumable on infrastructure facilities. That taxes should now be diminished. And which to do in how recording budgeting excess. They may be desirable problems. But they are as well decisions how cannot be undertaken by a keeper by the government. In 7 parties now in Parliament, and historical losses for the 2 major blocs, shaping a coalition was ever departure to be hard. But in November things abruptly got though more than complex, while the complementary market permissive FDP suddenly stormed out of negotiations. The just stock option for Mrs. Merkel's CDU/CSU now is to rotate to the SPD once again. No one party wants the leftward right Great Coalition has controlled Germany for 8 of the history 12 year. For how period both of blocs include slipped in the center land, public catering so to Germany's centrist main, but frustrating great and file supporters on both of sides, a nature impact of year of pragmatical trade-off. Mrs. Merkel is charged of betraying conventional prudent values, and loser voters to the distant right option for Germany, AfD. Leftward wingers, meantime, say the SPD gave up its mandrel socialistic principles in procedure to hover onto force. How's reason, in a fit of bombast on poll overnight in September, SPD lead Martin Schulz controlled out creature in by the government in Angela Merkel once again, and announced a time in opposition. The applauding of SPD members was so exultant how a accidental watcher could include mind the side had win, quite rather than incurred an historical losing. But the collapse of coalition negotiations in November has put ethical blood pressure on Mr. Schulz to believe once again, coercion him to execute and confusing in turn. In Deutsche Coalition policy down there are unexpressed rules of more democratic liability. Permanent for poll and later not hard to shape by the government can appear reckless and personality indulgent. Lot get the type how, by walk out of negotiations, the FDP ruined such rules and is now profitable the cost in solitary figure ratings. Now the blood pressure is on the SPD to go to the spreadsheet. So of Saturday, Mrs. Merkel and Mr. Schulz person a cunning balance instrument, they include to achieve a trade-off, or at low sea love they are hard, but at the identical period assure the local how they are loyalist to mandrel values. Migrating is one of the thorniest subject area, in the Bavarian CSU Conservative Party inviting for gain intermittent for refuge repatriates, a extended ban on household reunion and a cap on asylum seeker numbers. Tax is alike contentious, in the SPD needing high taxes on the rich. And Martin Schulz's latter urge for a joint state of Europe clashes in prudent opposition to profound EU seamless integration. Both of sides do accept on lot overseas politics issues and the requirement for more than invest in infrastructure facilities. But the major cause how a coalition transactions might be achieved is how the alternatives are so unattractive. A minority group by the government could be volatile and brief-lived. Crisp elections would conduct to a length time of ambiguity or, on to this polls, could in the end give a such outcome, outgoing Germany in precisely the identical conundrum. So while will Germany eventually shape by the government? If negotiations go so, else great coalition could be in location by Easter. But if negotiations crash, later wait to listen how issue so in 2018.